All right, welcome to episode 5. Have a go, Corey Vlachiki. Next guest, Brando, Body by Brando Hasick. Do I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's right. So, Brando, I met him, would have been about 2013. We worked at Vision Personal Training together, not for too long. But now he's done some pretty cool things. He's moved on to open up his own facilities, Body by Brando. A couple ups and downs along the way. Cleo Bachelor of the Year contestant. But yeah, give us a bit of an intro, Brando.
You snuck that one in there, didn't you? Yeah, we did meet. We were Vision Personal Training. I didn't last too long in that scene. I think you left not long enough. Yeah, that's where it all began, in the ghetto of Rose Bay. Pretty rough streets down there. But started a Vision, then made my way, got an opportunity to go to F45 when they first opened. So I had a mate open one of those back out at Dural and followed him out there, and we worked together for about probably 9 months. So I was doing that, and it just sort of seemed a bit more appealing at the time to be in a HIT environment when that was sort of first coming to the streets. As opposed to, being in that small sort of studio. It just seemed more appealing, so I followed that. Which then led me down the path of more CrossFit and the Real Movement Project, it was called at the time.
Pretty flexible.
Yeah, bendy.
That's what I remember back then. Always doing like handstands or fucking splits or something.
Yeah, I remember John would just be pissed off because I'd just break out into a handstand in the middle of the room while I was training someone, and yeah, those rules don't sit well with me. So, so that's why I didn't last too long there, doing the splits or doing the handstands while I was meant to be training people. Now it's all fine because I own the gym and I can do what I want.
So what did you do after F45? That was out, did you say Dural? Was that right?
Yeah, so we're at Dural. So I just moved into the city. That's why I was at Rose Bay. But then the job was out there and it seemed like a good opportunity. So I was driving out there 50 minutes a day each way. And then I met a few people. So I met Keegan. Ended up getting a business coach while I was with Keegan, who sort of helped me set up my own business, and we started in the backyard. So I was doing 3-on-1 personal training out of my 5x5 square meter patio, and that was the first taste of running a business. So there was plenty of ups and downs in that, and I made the transition. So I was doing 3 days for Greg at F45, and then 3 days in the backyard. So it was sort of that slow transition across to working full time for myself. And pulled the plug eventually, and took the big step.
So where'd you open your first Body by Brando?
I remember drawing my logos while sitting at Vision, actually. I think Charles Allen Price, if he ends up listening to this, he'll back me on that. I was sitting there drawing little overhead squat stick figures and writing my name in different fonts. So I think the idea emerged at Vision, but I think I held on to it for a little while trying to plan out how it'd look. But first started training people. I might have even got business cards when I was at F45. I was doing a few PTs at F45 in the off hours, but the backyard ghetto gym was the real taste of Body by Brando 1.0.
How long were you in the backyard for before you open up your first at Paddington?
Yeah,
right?
The journey might have been 6 to 9 months in the backyard, and then it was we opened in like March. So the worst of it was when we got to June, July, and it was freezing cold every morning, and it was raining. It rained for like 3 weeks straight, and the clients just didn't want to buy it. They were paying pretty good bickies at the time, and they're like, "Come on, this sucks! Like we're in the middle of fucking winter, and we're paying good money to train on outdoors." So I got pressured into sort of looking for a space. And funnily enough, Greg, the guy that I work for at F45, was working at my Paddington studio that I own now as a PT for someone else. So he got me in the door down there, and there's a shed. And so we hired the shed off the guy and turned into the shred shed, which we called it. And we started training people there, and then just things happened. The guy that owned the gym wanted out, so he went and opened an F45 somewhere else, and we just took over the whole gym, including the shed. So that's the Paddington studio we have now.
So your logo says Body by Brando, building better bodies, popping your titties out there. So what's Body by Brando? If I'm a client walking in, what am I going to expect?
Ooh, yeah. So we are a small group training facility now. We do 14 people on one is our sort of model. So it's a small group training, and we also do personal training. And the idea is we want to transform the way people look, first of all. Like body composition is a massive part of what we do, but also transform the way they move. So we teach people how to move really well. And
you're pretty big into like your gymnastic movements from what I remember. Like you always, like I said, doing flips or fucking something like.
Do it, yeah. And that's the thing, like we just want to make sure people move like people. So, you know, we're not built to sit on machines and do bench press and chest press on machines. Like we should be the machine ourselves. So learn how to move your body through a large range of motion so that you can do more things is my philosophy. Essentially like try and put yourself in positions that puts your muscles at the end range and learn how to produce force there. So that's the ultimate way to stay injury free, but also to do more things, which is performance based. And then obviously if you're doing that, you're going to look better as a result because there's not too many fatter people that can do backflips or do the splits. Like, you know, they go hand in hand. So you've got to have both together. So that's our philosophy.
And then from your Paddington gym, did you first go and open, was it Artarmon?
Artarmon, yeah.
Is that the next one you try to have a crack at opening?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, we failed miserably. Yeah, I love it. Every time we get on a podcast with someone, they bring it up and it just brings back the scars.
Good learning experience.
Yeah, it's good. It's probably one of the best things to ever happen in the sense, like at the time it didn't seem too good, but now it's like forced me to do things now that I probably never would have thought about doing. So
like what?
Systems is like, I'm just notorious for like being anal and making systems and making sure like things can be repeated because obviously it's Body by Brando now, and if I want to grow, I've either got to learn to replicate some of the things that I do well and obviously get rid of the things I don't do well and get other people to be involved. Otherwise it's going to be a one-man band forever. So that's the hardest part of the journey so far, is knowing what it is that I do well and then trying to replicate it so that others can do it. With Artarmon, it was literally myself and I had 2 coaches trying to run 2 gyms. And like we said off air, I was trying to say, trying to do everything myself, and I just I thought I had more brand equity than what we did. So I thought, you know, first gym we got to 100 members pretty quick, and you know, at this rate we'll have 100 gyms with 100,000 people training there. But it just didn't happen. Like we opened the second gym and Artarmon, total, you know, different kettle of fish, and no one knew who we were. And I was trying to be the marketer, I was trying to be the salesperson, I was trying to be, you know, coach 20, 25 hours a week, and then trying to make sure the boys were coaching as good as I was coaching. And there just wasn't enough time in the day or week to get things done, and it failed pretty quickly.
How long until you had to close up?
It was about 6 months in the end. So the people that have been along the journey with me from the start have helped me paint about 6 different gyms. They've all had the paintbrush in their hands a few times and helped pack up the mats, and they're probably over it. So whoever's been there that long, thanks for that.
With the Artarmon project, we'll call it, what was your biggest lesson from that you take away? Like what advice would you give someone that was going to go have a crack at open a second business? Like try and replicate their first one? Yeah,
definitely. The biggest thing is have systems in place. Like things almost need to like have an operations manual, but then not just have the manual, like make sure it's implemented and know how. Like we're 6 years in now, we're still only just fine tuning things, because you might think just because you know how to do it, other people don't. And if there's no follow-up process on making sure they do it, it's not going to get done. And unless it's written down, it's so open to interpretation. Like, you know, you say paint.
It's got to be like black and white.
Yeah, you literally have to spell everything out, and it just takes so long. So if, you know, you're better off getting really good at one gym, making sure the coaches from that gym are like 100% to the T, that you can almost take a 4 to 6 week holiday and the gym will go forward without you. I think that's probably a test that I'll do as myself, is like take a 6 week holiday, because I've taken heaps of 2 week holidays in the past, and you know, you get a bit stressed when you're away and like, fuck, it's just happening. Like if you can't go away for 6 weeks without your business like going forward, not just maintaining but going forward, you probably shouldn't be opening a second gym. And I'd still made probably dropped the gun on the third gym this time as well, but I'm just impatient. So All in good fun.
All in good fun. Yeah, well, look, that's another thing I was going to touch on. Like, your joint looks like it's good fun to be at. Like, your personality's like that. You don't mind a good time.
Yeah.
Definitely. But is that one of the things you try and concentrate on? Like, for us, like, that's our motto at our joint is fun, fit, future. So, like, we make sure people are obviously getting a result, but they're having a good time. So is that something that you guys focus on? Like, you're always putting up funny posts on Instagram or taking the piss out of someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously, why would you do it otherwise? But you do see some gyms, they're just too serious, aren't they? But I just don't think that's what we wanted to do. And I mean, it probably comes from the top down, same as you. Like, we like to have fun, and
So you reckon it's your business ends up becoming a reflection of you in a sense? Like, it's got your personality, the brand?
Yeah, it probably cause and effect. Because, I mean, sometimes, if you speak to some of my coaches, they'd probably see the other side of things when I needed, like, things need to get done or they don't get done properly. They probably don't have the same perception of me as what people see on Instagram as well. But, we definitely, like, it's probably the effect of me trying to promote that, and that's just me being me as well. And that's probably where it comes from. It's the effect.
So from Paddington, we're now sitting in your Waterloo one. Was this the next one that was... Did you have one in between? Was this the next...
I think so. I don't think I failed again. I've done a few things in between. But yeah, this is the next gym. I was pretty scarred, to be honest. I was like, oh...
What was the time frame from that? So that's what...
Yeah... Probably 3. I think we opened the Artarmon gym like a year and a half after opening, like getting stuck into the inside of Paddington and the way it is now, because we went through a few things. Like when we first went to Paddo, we only had half of where we were running our body by Brando. The other half was like rented out to trainers. So it was like a bit of a shit fight, to be honest. And then, so probably 18 months after having it as that, we went Artarmon and then failed that, and then 3 years, I reckon. Yeah, I just got itchy feet. I was like, we're doing well. We're doing really well down at Paddo, and we're sort of breaking at the seams. Like, we couldn't get any more people in. We didn't want to move to a bigger space and then risk that. So I was like, the only other option is to try again and just see if it works out. And
so far, so good?
So far, so good, yeah. I mean, COVID didn't help, but it would have been great.
Tell me about it.
I know. But yes, so we got it in, did all the negotiations up until August and walked in on August, and that was another battle in itself because they were a different model again, which I sort of went and tried to risk it a little bit because they were doing like an individual design where you'd rock up and you'd have a program and you just train at whatever time you wanted, but there'd be a coach on the floor.
Oh, okay.
And so it was quite different, and they had a different demographic, a little bit older than what we had.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
The owners before.
Yeah,
well, it was CrossFit Ignite. Yeah. So we took over a gym. So my thoughts were...
And the existing member base?
Yeah.
So how'd that work when a bit of change come in?
Yeah, it didn't... some loved it, some didn't. So we ended up losing about 50% over about 3 months. And the ones that stayed now love it. Like, they're for offers and we have a good time. The ones that didn't were a little bit of an older demographic. They were about 50 odd. So obviously, I pride myself in being able to talk to most people, but trying to get them in and get their shirts off and hang around with the boys is a different story.
If you go on his Instagram page, he hardly ever wears a shirt. I couldn't find a photo with him with his shirt on, or without his dick stickers, his budgie smugglers.
It's been on a bit more lately, let me tell you. Rig's pretty sloppy. And that was the gamble. So if it, like, business terms, the guy I bought it off was a legend, and he obviously wanted a price. Like, you'd normally value a company at 3 times profit or whatever. But with a gym, I just found it to be a little bit harsh to do that, considering you build a gym based on you. Like, you can still be the best gym, but people come because of, your gym. They would come for you and your energy and everything like that. And I just felt like they weren't going to stay unless they really were hardcore. Like, they love the area, or they loved, they really got on board. So we sort of made a deal in the end which was fair for both people, I think, and it worked out well. But I thought that would be a better option than trying to start from scratch again, because I didn't have the confidence just to go and start another gym, because it's just time. Like, to start a gym from scratch, you need to be there 24/7, don't you? Like, you've done it, so.
So those scars from Artarmon still holding
still
on?
There. They're still
there.
I think one of them's still healing, to be honest.
You got to face your fears, mate.
Yeah. Because obviously you got Cert 3 and 4. There's not a lot to do after that unless you go and specialise in courses. And I just feel like there's probably a gap between where a lot of trainers are and where they need to be. So I want to try and help bridge that gap, down the road. We learn a lot at uni, but we also didn't learn how to implement it. So, like,
what did you study at uni?
So it's sports and exercise science, which theoretically was epic. Like, you know every muscle off the top of your head, you know how it works, biomechanics and force production, all these fancy terms. And then unless you're someone that wants to invest that time and train, it's sort of wasted. But at the same time, then there's people out there who go to the gym and they understand the gym, but they don't have the technical basis. So sort of trying to merge those two things together and make some epic coaches is what I want to do long term. So
set up a little platform that's basically accredited by Fitness Australia. Is that what you're looking to do, like down that route?
Yeah, I don't even think you need to. I think that's a bit of a, shit fight as well. Fitness Australia, like a bit of a rort, to be honest, but I hope they're not watching. But
definitely not getting your course in there now.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, it's accreditation, so to be insured, I think you have to be accredited by them, which is obviously whatever. But in the scheme of things, like, I think if you have the knowledge, what does it matter if you have an accreditation? But I suppose you need to have some sort of certificate along the way, don't you?
So you're pretty big on your education. What I've noticed, you're always constantly doing something or providing education via your Instagram, bit of content on there. So what are some of the things you've learned along the way or self-education you've done?
So the first one was the Real Movement with Keegan. He really helped out early on. That was around the F45 days, and I sort of wanted to go into that more functional training, combining gymnastics with weightlifting and those types of things. Sort of similar philosophy to CrossFit, but in a much sort of different way, like less metabolic conditioning, more strength-based. So spent heaps of time in a mentorship with Keegan. And then I've done a few other fitness courses, but to be honest, a lot of the courses I've done are now more based around business, like not so much because I think I know everything. It's just like I sort of, because of the knowledge I've got from uni, I can then just apply it and figure out the cause and effect. You start weightlifting, if you know the biomechanics of how the body works, you can then apply the principles pretty easily. But nutrition courses, things like that. But a lot of my time is spent on business coaching.
So what business courses have you done? A couple that are probably the most beneficial.
Yeah, the first one definitely, because I had so much of a learning curve, was with a guy called Dan Lowry. I don't even think he does it anymore. He just did a couple of courses early on. And that was just getting your head around marketing, sales, pipelines, like even just things you never think of before you actually start running a business. So just getting that big steep learning curve. And then along the way, people like Mario, who now we're running a education company together. He was my mentor for about 4 or 5 years, setting up more sales and marketing. I've been with NPE for the last 3 or 4 months. They're a bigger company that sets up systems. But Entourage, they're an Aussie-based company with Jack Delosa. They were epic. I did a year with them. And it's all just like picking up gold nuggets. Like, you got to sift. It's like anything. You learn how to squat on day one. You're like, holy shit, this is so epic. And then 10 years in, you've got to like pick up really fine details. But it's still, they can really move the shit pretty far.
Like your philosophy on training, like obviously moving better, but I've noticed like yourself, Keegan Smith, like that sort of Troy Savage, you've got these little techniques that are sort of, I guess, challenging the status quo, so to speak. Like a lot of athletes are now doing a lot of those movements that you use in your gyms. How did you come across that? Was that just that base knowledge and you're like, well, hold on, I think I can tweak this to move forward? Yeah,
pretty much exactly that. Like, we've got a saying, it's like, once you know a principle, you can then go and apply it to different methods. So if you know where force is produced how far along, like, kinetic chains and things like that, you can then start to apply it to different movements and go, hang on, yeah, like you said, if I push this into a deeper range of motion, what's going to happen? And you just sort of start to figure out things along the way. Like, it's a lot of trial and error on yourself, like your own guinea pig at most times, and then obviously your clients, without putting them in jeopardy, of course.
We'll cut that bit out.
Yeah, but you can, rather than just sitting to what is true, like the 3x8 method or the 4x12, like that's the old school body method way. But we're just taking their word for it because they were their own guinea pigs, and what works for one doesn't work for everyone. But if you can start to apply the principles of volume through time, time and attention, range of motion, skill acquisition, those type of things, you're going to find that, if you manipulate the variable, you're going to come up with a different, outcome. So we sort of play around with those things. And I suppose the one thing that is true is if you increase your strength through large range of motion, like, you're going to be in a better position than someone who doesn't. So that's the
so I know a lot of athletes, especially rugby league. I've seen you do these movements as well, the pec tears.
Yeah.
So now by changing just the angle, the depth as well, like you said, strength through range, you think that might be able to prevent certain injuries?
100%. Yeah, it's like if someone outweighs their capacity to some extent. So if you think about putting your arm out, to the side at full length, and someone like runs into you and they're 100 kilos moving at X speed meters per second, it's going to create a certain amount of force at the pec. Now, if that person has never created that much force in their pec, it's going to have two options: either grow and adapt, or tear. So if you can then do that in training, then you're obviously going to have a much better chance when things go wrong on the field. So that's what we're saying, is like, if you can slowly manipulate the training variables, you're going to start to see some different outcomes. So if you can start trying to push your pec into deeper positions during the gym, so we call it progressive overload, you're then going to have a much better opportunity when you get out in the field and hope that shit doesn't go wrong.
What's your thoughts on the knees over toes guy?
Ben Patrick?
Yeah.
Legend of a guy. He's a good dude. Like, he's switched on.
I'm seeing a lot of like NBA players and NFL players and stuff starting to follow his training techniques.
Yeah. So he's a very smart guy. Same thing. Like, that's obviously why him and Keegan get along. So for a while there, I was, part of the Real Movement brand, and I still will be when I get a bit more time on my hands. But Ben Patrick, same thing. Like, just pushes that status quo and like just questions things. Like, you've always been told not to do it, but he was like, I don't understand why. He obviously put himself through a lot of individual testing, like N=1, and then you start to introduce it to other people, and then it starts to become bigger and bigger, and you start to get a bit of your own data based on your own studies. And he's obviously got a background in sports science as well, so he knows what he's talking about. It's just he's starting to really market it quite well, and it makes sense.
Do you use it for your training?
Yeah, just on different, like I said, it comes in different methods. Like, you use it when you need it. You take the principles that you understand to be true, and then you try and adapt that method to go forward. So we use definitely some of it. We don't use his whole method, because I suppose he's just come up with a method, a trademark method that he follows. We probably incorporate bits and pieces of it, and it works really well when you do.
So I noticed as well that you do fitness retreats in Bali. Would you call them fitness retreats? What was the idea behind them, and how'd you go about setting up? Is that like a little side business, or is it a part of like your Body by Brando Paddington? How'd that come about? We were going to call them health retreats until we realised that you probably shouldn't drink 10 bintangs a day. There's not too much health going on when we're over there, to be honest. Was it more of a piss-up, or there was a bit of training involved?
We trained for a good...
They look like budgies and beers most of the time.
It's probably budgies and beers by Brando in Bali is probably a better way to reframe that. But we literally called the first one a health retreat, and I just thought about that for the second year. I was like, how
many have you done?
2. We were meant to be there in July, but obviously we're not now because of COVID. But yeah, it's definitely a fitness retreat. Like, we train, so we get up and we normally do like some meditation or some yoga or some stretching or some mindset in the morning. Then we have brekkie, and then we head off and do like a 2 to 3 hour training session where I sort of run like a seminar event each day for 5 days. But we sort of finish up about 1 or 2, go and get some good lunch over there, and then we sit by the pool and you start juggling, and the bintangs usually find their way into my hand pretty quick. But they're like water, so it doesn't really matter.
There we go. Yeah, nice cold bintang.
Yeah, cold bintang.
Warm as.
Yeah.
How'd you go about setting that up? Like, say for someone, because everyone wants to do a health retreat now. Say for someone that comes up to you, hey Brando, how do I set this up? What's the first couple steps? Like, do I need insurances? Where do I go book a room? Like training spaces? How'd you go about that?
Yeah, well, I sort of thought the first part was like, all right, how do you run a holiday for friends? Like, if you had to book for your 10 friends, how would you start it? Like, it's no different to that, I suppose. I had clients I sort of thought would jump on board and filled the first one up pretty quickly and just treated it pretty much like that. I'm a massive checklist man, so I just started off like, what needs to happen? A, B, C, tick, 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 and I just went through that way. So start with the accommodation, start with the price, obviously do your spreadsheets and work out if it's going to be profitable or not, and then just itinerary. It's not too much different than booking your own holiday, to be honest. It's just a well-organised holiday, and then we train. That could be totally wrong. Some people probably that run health retreats for a living are just listening to this and saying that's absolute bullshit, but that's how we did it. So
no, they look like good fun though.
Yeah.
Like jump on the back end of one.
Well, yeah, we've just postponed this year's one, so there'll be some spaces.
It looks like Bali's back up and running though. I've seen like a couple of the gyms. I follow a couple of them, like that Empire Fit.
Oh yeah.
Canggu Nest, I think it's called.
Yeah, Canggu Nest, that's cool.
They had a couple of sessions going. A little shout out, maybe you get a free holiday over there.
Cheeky little singlet or something. Little tank top to wear in Bali.
So I touched on your content as well. Like, you're pretty consistent with that, like education wise, bit of fun as well.
Yeah.
What's the driver behind that? Like, what are your thoughts on that? On the content side of things, why is it important for, I guess, people in our industry?
It is. Hey, it's massive. And
especially I guess any industry these days.
Industry, yeah. I don't know why I started. I think I just had a lot to say in the early days, to be honest.
Loves the camera.
Yeah, I'm not shy of getting in front of people and telling them what I think. So I suppose it was just like a platform, wasn't it? Like it literally is. No, I think the biggest thing for me is I love learning, and like Jim Quick always says, when you teach someone, you get to learn twice. And it's like, for me, it was almost like my diary, and I was just like, all right, why do I think this? And then for me to put it in words made me really think about it a lot deeper. And it wasn't like for any other reason than that. I think it started that way because I was talking about some pretty in-depth, either mindset stuff in my early days, I was posting like what would be equivalent to a long form blog post these days. Like, it was pretty lengthy, and I'd spend a good 2 or 3 hours a day just writing, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that was just a platform at the time. You slap a nice pretty picture of me and my budgies, and voila, like you started to accumulate some followers pretty quick.
Which then leads me into a Clio Bachelor of the Year. How'd that come about? Where'd you finish, actually?
Top 3. I can say that because
top
no one's
three?
ever going to know that that's a massive lie. No, the way it works is there's only one winner and there's 29 runners up. So if I just
so you came second.
I came second, yeah. Second hottest Clear Bachelor of the Year in 2016.
So how'd that come about? Did someone nominate you? They approach you?
Yeah. What was it? Someone just messaged me on Facebook, and it must have been a friend of a friend or something. But they just said, "Hey, are you eligible at the moment?" And I sort of started seeing a girl at the time who I'm still with, and she knew about it, and she's like, "Oh, just go for it. Like, it doesn't mean anything." And then we're getting towards the arse end, and people are like, "Aren't you with Asher?" And I sort of had to put on the
So you're a fraud.
It was worth it.
How are the parties?
It was really good. We had it was a big party at the Ivy, and the boys were legends. We all rocked up, and everyone was like, fuck, who's this guy? 30 dudes who've never met before. Tom Tilley was in it that year. Was that Tom Tilley from Triple J Hack?
No,
he's in it. There's a couple of dudes that were pretty well known in there, and it was just good. We all got up there, and everyone's pretty awkward and nervous, and then so I was like, beers? So we all just started kicking off the beers. I think the top floor of the Ivy, and it was a good night.
Who took it out that year?
The dog geezer, the Aussie dog guy.
The vet guy? Is he?
No, I think it was the year before. No, this guy just takes photos of dogs.
What, Harry? Remember Harry? Harry's dead or whatever.
Yeah. What did you do? Is he still alive, that guy?
No, I think he's dead.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so back to your Instagram. Do you have a strategy that you use, like with posting, or is it just willy-nilly? What do you do with that?
I've set it up like themes and stuff for the day, where I try and, have Mindset Monday, Transformation Tuesday, and my mind doesn't really think that linearly. So I usually, for some reason, it's like a burst of motivation at 7:30 at night. I think it's because I used to finish coaching at 7:30 and I'd hop in the car and I'd like scroll through my photos for the day and I was like, yep, that photo. And then I was like, what can I talk about? Yep, tempo. And I'll just start talking about tempo and how it affects, intensity and like all those different variables. And I think I'll just pick something for the day, and that's how I normally do it now.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Like your content, or anyone that creates content, is putting out information or showing vulnerability and not expecting anything in return. Like there's a lot of people that will put stuff out to try and bring someone in, like say get a sale or get an extra follower. But it looks like you just chuck stuff out, and that's how you create a good following, educate people. When someone wants to buy or needs help, they'll come to you first.
Yeah.
So that's the perception I get from you. You're just like constantly flat stick, info. Like it's all for free. Like people pay for that to go to their personal trainer or coach or whatever.
And it did work in my favor, and it wasn't that wasn't the intention at all. Like I said, it was more so that it was more like my journal to start with, and I was like, oh, cool. Like if I get it out there, it might help someone. And then, like you said, people, they see it, and like doing business courses now, when they talk about that as a strategy, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that's what I did. I didn't even realize I was doing that. They talk about like building authority in your niche, and I suppose, like you said, people would come to me and they'd be like, oh, when I do have a problem, like I'm the first one they think of. And that's how it usually works. Someone follows me for 6 or 9 months and they go, fuck, it's about time I do something about this. And who's the first person? Yeah, that guy seems like he knows what he's doing. I'll go with him. So it's like just building your brand awareness to start with. You build the followers, and then after that, you build the authority for them to trust you enough that if they have a problem, then you can probably solve it. Like vanilla ice.
That was vanilla ice.
Yeah, I didn't even mean to do that.
That was good. Nice little throw in
there.
there.
No, there you go. Shout out to vanilla, my boy. But no, that's pretty much how it worked. It was just throw it out
just
there.
A bit of a snowball effect, organic sort of thing for you. It wasn't too strategic at first.
It literally wasn't. It wasn't like, because the return on investment to do a post, you're never going to be able to see it. It's like throwing shit at a wall and some of it sticks, but you don't know which post it was that got someone's attention. And then I just have the theory, like you just keep throwing it out there. Eventually someone will see it, and then when it's their turn to buy, then they'll think of you first.
I think that old theory is you got to contact someone 7 times before they buy off you, but I think that's actually gone up now. It's like 21 or something.
I think it keeps going up because obviously everyone's trying to get in the same space. Yeah. They're all going like,
and even I just think people's attention span too these days with social media, it's like flick.
Yeah.
So you got to be in front of them so many times for them to come towards you.
Yeah, or I mean, the amount of people on Instagram now versus back in the day, it's gone up. So then you're just diluted. You don't have the same reach anymore. Like I was growing really fast at one stage, got to 10K and then didn't move for like years. And it's
buying followers.
Yeah.
Buying them.
Oh, buying them, yeah. Yeah, that's probably why. Run out of cash, couldn't buy them anymore. And yeah, they're just, it's a lot harder now. When I first did Facebook ads and stuff, you started doing them for like $2 a lead. You'd put a post out and say, hey, come and train with me type thing. Obviously a little bit better than that, but you'd get a lot more response. Whereas now, because they're getting ads from every, Tom, Dick and Harry, Jim learned how to do Facebook ads. You're not the first one they see anymore. So they start shopping around, and they don't, they wait until they really trust you before they take that first step. Because how do they know if you're better than Steve down the road or, not his boot camp or something like that?
So what's next for Body by Brando? What's the future hold?
Yeah, well,
obviously building up Waterloo where we are now, and then where to say this is pumping in a year's time. What's next?
Next, I want to get it to the stage where both gyms are cranking. I wanted to go more. I thought that was just the natural step. Like, just makes sense, you know, you get 1, you get 10 and do it that way. But honestly, I don't know if that's what I want to do. Like
10 more headaches as well.
Yeah, it's just 10 more headaches, isn't it? Like, I really like having gyms. I like the people, but I feel like the more I go, the less I'll touch base with people. And I think that's why I like having a small enough community where, you know, I still know everyone's names. I know what they're doing.
You sort of got that feel for both facilities.
Yeah.
Like, if it grows. I was speaking to my mate about it where he owned a couple Anytime Fitnesses.
You wouldn't know anyone.
And he goes, no. He goes, I don't know anyone. It's just like, he started off with a small PT business as well. And he goes, I just lost, like exactly what you said, the feel for it. He goes, it didn't seem like what it was all cracked up to be. I own fucking 50 gyms or whatever. He had a few as well. But yeah, I think that's the beauty about facilities like yours or mine. They got that real good community feel in them.
Yeah, and you can't replicate it too big. Like, it's like anything, just gets diluted. But yeah, if you get too big, you're not in the fitness business anymore. You're in the business of selling fitness. Like, it's a totally different game. And I don't know if I want to do that. Like, if I'm not in there doing it on the ground, like, I don't know what I'll do. I want to go into educating, like I was saying, like either coach development. So whether we just run internships for coaches, because I enjoy coaching, but obviously that changes dynamically over time, whether you coach an individual person, then coach groups. But then once you've started to solve the same problem over and over, like most people have a very similar problem, or when you have a niche, they do anyway, like they want to drop body fat, increase their muscle mass, and, you know, move well. You've done that for 1,000 people. It starts to become like, you know, not that you lose passion for it, but it's not as like novel anymore. You don't wake up being like, oh, I wonder what that, like, you sort of know what they're going to have and how to solve it. So I think the next for me to keep me on my toes would be to help coaches develop themselves, and that would be a new sort of puzzle.
What's your thought on our industry with every Tom, Dick and Harry wanting to be a PT?
Yeah.
So like, I always tell a lot of people this, and they can't believe it. Since we've been open, I've interviewed like 90 to 100 people.
Really?
Just so hard to find good coaches. Like, I think everyone thinks they can be the next PT. It's like an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, my advice is for a PT, the first thing you got to learn about is learn how to run a business, even if it's just you.
Yeah.
I think that's like the main thing.
Yeah. It's a tough gig. People think it is a lot better. Like, I mean, it's hard to hire a coach, and that's why it's a hard industry to be in, because first of all, if they're not, like you said, if they're not good enough and they don't have any business idea, like, because if you hire a coach, you hire them, you don't want to pay them to stand around and do nothing while you fill their diary with PT, but then, you know, how do you get someone out of their job to then start? Like, you've got to have that sort of slow merge of like either transition from another career or be happy enough to not make money for 3 or 4 months. Like, there's no in between, hey? And like the ones that try, you either go fitness first and they just pay you like a low salary, like $300 or $400 a week. It's a hard industry to sort of find good coaches, because people don't change once they've got a good gig.
Yeah.
So you've really got to spend the time to invest bringing up a coach, I think.
So you're really big with that, with your coaches? You got a career pathway, so to speak, for them?
Yeah.
Systemise that?
Yeah, we've been trying to develop that as well, like show them, you know, internships through to level 5 coaching and like leadership courses along the way, because I think that's the only way to get it. We've had troubles in the past with the really good coach that we've brought over. They obviously want more money because they know they're a good coach and they're, you know, the monopoly, but then they don't buy into the culture because they're used to their own way of coaching and they're good at coaching, so they think they can run the show. Then you've got the other problem where you bring in a newbie who's not a good coach, but you got to spend 6 months training him up and then risk him walking out the door once he's taken all your information. So it's a pretty...
I noticed, like we touched on at the start of the podcast, like Vision, that's their model. They'll try and get like a young coach, pretty inexperienced, and develop them up to either owning a studio or, you know, getting them managing a studio or running their own business.
Yeah.
I think that philosophy is pretty good. Like, getting someone from the ground up is better than, like you said, bringing someone in who's might have a bit of an ego and like, this is not how you do it. I've been in the industry for 10 years. It's pretty hard to try and transition someone like that into your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the way we'll go going forward, is we'll bring them from the ground up. Ideally, like, clients to coaches work out pretty well sometimes because they know the business model. They know...
Have you had any clients hit you up?
We've had a couple in the past. I had a really good coach, Heath. He was from the US, and he was working at Lululemon, and they used to pay for him to come down and train. So we'd train like 3-4 hours a day sometimes, and then he was like, "Oh, this is what I want to do." So I brought him up. He had no certs or qualifications. I think I put him through a cert 3 and 4, but he was a weapon. Like, he knew everything that I did, and we just he got it because he was already part of the culture. Whereas, you bring someone in. The hardest part about training someone is getting them to fit the culture. So if there's anyone that trains at Bodybuilder Brando and wants a job, develop.
Hit me up first. We're looking for trainers, coaches. That's it. The thing that you said there, culture. That's a massive thing.
Yeah.
Like in any business, I reckon, is the culture. Do they buy in? Do they not buy in?
Yeah, you can teach someone, skills. I had a mate tell me once, and I say this all the time, is like, you can teach someone how to pour a beer, but you can't teach them how to be a legend. So, like I say it in job interviews, I'm like, fuck, you can pour a beer, but you're a bit of a shit bloke. Not for the face.
All right, we got couple questions.
Oh, yeah.
Is the topless waiter coming back?
Have you seen this, Rick?
Where were you a topless waiter? Wild Boys Afloat?
No, the way it worked, it was a pretty funny story. I had a mate who's much better looking than me, and he was a model, and he had, obviously the model friends all hang out at model parties and stuff like that. So anyway, one of his mates ran a topless waitering company, and it was pretty successful, and he was going to them, and he was like making a bit of extra cash. I think we were 19 or 20, and he was doing pretty well with that. And then I got the call up one day, and got the lid off and started serving some champagne to the party. And there were some pretty good parties I went to be honest. I ended up doing about 10 or 15 of them by the end.
Few tips?
Yeah, I did get
paid in the form of cash?
Yeah, just cash tips, in case someone's listening. And then people started recognising me. I'd start to rock up to a party, and there'd be people from your area, and it was just, you're like, oh, God, gonna hear about this on Monday.
Next question. Do you ever feel embarrassed or uncomfortable doing videos?
All the time, hey. This is... Like when, I don't know about you, but when I first started Instagram, all my mates were straight on there. Oh, you dickhead, look at you. What are you talking about? Like, you look like a spastic. And then they're the ones that now hit me up the most for questions. They're like, it's pretty funny. They're like, oh, what do you reckon about this? So I think you either got
to feel comfortable in front of the camera or you don't. Like at first, even like I don't give a shit now. I'll jump in front of the camera. But at first I used to always sit there and go, fuck, what is everyone going to think? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's sort of ties into why I did this, is just have a go. Like,
have a go, yeah.
And if you don't like it, you don't like it, you don't have to do it. Like some people are just a bit awkward in front of the camera or you know, shit themselves, start pouring out in sweat, but take the camera away, they're fine. But
I still do it. You still,
like when you go to put a post, you have that running through your head?
Yeah, it's like a little adrenaline rush too. Like I think I sort of like it sometimes, but
it's a drug.
Oh yes, it's a drug. Filming is a hard one. Like when you know it's a real filming thing, like even this, I suppose, it's recorded forever. And I still to this day, like will record the same video 10 times because I didn't like something or I stuffed up a word or forgot something. So like I don't think it goes away. You just get more comfortable doing it.
More comfortable being uncomfortable. Write that one down. Good quote.
Right there.
Hardest thing about opening a gym, you sort of touched on that, didn't you?
The
hard one.
Getting clients obviously is probably business 101, isn't it?
Well, we learned a big lesson. We didn't really start selling our memberships until we were about to open. So anyone that wants to open up a gym, pre-sale your memberships first.
Yeah.
And get coaches, unless you're going to work in it. But
yeah,
I think that would be my advice, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Pre-sale membership.
It's hard to pre-sale though. I know people that just like, they're like, yeah, you got to have 100 members before you open your doors. Like, I mean, if I did that, I wouldn't have opened for 3 years because it took me about 3 years to get 100 members. But
if you can try and work out what your cost is to get it, well, you should know that to get into the green, and then work off that. If you can try and pre-sale to open the doors where you at least break even, I think that'll be a good place to start.
Yeah. Well, I think the best model to open a gym is to make sure whether or not you're in, because you can't go from nothing to something without a bit of brand equity. Like you just start doing your PTs somewhere else, or you start doing your park PT and your park And then when you got 30 clients,
just build up.
Move inside. Like just that's the rent. Obviously, then you work out your numbers from that. But you don't just walk off the street and open a gym because no one's going to know who you are.
Most annoying fad in the fitness industry.
There's heaps, isn't there? Fad. I mean, the whole HIIT training is like my biggest thing, and I talk about it a lot. HIIT training, it can be good, I think, if as long as the principles are right. Like everyone correlates high heart rate with results, don't they? Like, and depends on what you're looking for, but everyone thinks they have to work hard to get results, and then HIIT obviously capitalize the F45 model and stuff like that. But that's what gripes me the most is people don't move well enough. And I think if they slow down and move better and stop trying to make things easier, then they'll probably see better results. Like
there's still a massive misconception of more cardio, more weight loss as well. Do you find that as well? Still, especially with females?
Yeah.
We have that, like, I think that's most prevalent in with, like, over the years, all the females I've seen are like, all right, let's do some strength stuff. And like, no, I'm going to look like a bloke.
Yeah, I'm going to look like you.
Yeah, I want to lose weight. I'm going to do more cardio. Let's just flog me for half an hour.
Yeah, flog me. It's like there's no benefit of flogging yourself. I mean, you will get the, calorie burn, but you're not going to get too much else after that. And if it was, it should be a supplement, I think. Cardio should be obviously to create that slight calorie deficit. But I mean, put 100 kilos on your back and squat to halfway and back up. Like, obviously it's easier. So what do you think your body is going to recognize? Obviously your body doesn't care how many sets and reps you tell your mates you did. It wants to know how much force production it created through the range of motion and the distance it traveled. If it's harder, it's probably better for you. Like, so stop trying to do faster and jumping over a stick for 45 minutes and fucking learn how to squat.
What are your squat, bro? That's it for the question. Last one. Advice to anyone that wants to have a go at opening a business or starting run a marathon or whatever.
You can't miss that question. That's the whole point of the podcast. You should have opened with that.
So what would your advice be from all the stuff you've learnt, ups and downs of failing with opening a business, coaching along the way, clients?
I think, the biggest advice would be, like, obviously get stuck in, but if you're someone that is going to jump in no matter what, like, you might as well just jump in and figure it out on the way, but obviously just have some, backup plans and actually try and do the due diligence. Like, if you're going to start, make sure you're going to, willing to go the distance type thing, because that's when you're going to fail. If you don't stop moving, you can't fail. So that's pretty much how it works.
So just cop it on the chin and just adapt along the way.
And figure out a way to keep going, because you can't fail if you don't quit.
Roll the punches. Buzz. All right, Brando. Anything else, mate?
No, we're good.
Wise words, anything? Cleo next year? Oh, no, you can't.
Oh, yeah, I think once you win it a couple of times, they won't let you back.
You'll probably see him down at Bondi in his budgies this summer coming up. COVID lets us.
Yeah.
All right, Brando. Thanks for jumping on, brother.
Thank you.
Good fun. Good to see you.